Nick DeMarco, aka the most important Forest signing in the last century. But was he good enough? And did he win his arguments? Welcome to your Forest News. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up in today's video, we're going to break down the Forest case, how Forest presented their case, what were their points of arguments, and were they successful or not in those points. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And football prices have done it again. Taiwo Awoniyi signed framed home shirt available for you guys right now. If you want it, get it quick. You guys saw how quickly those Murillo ones went. And you have an Insta prize of Aina. Remember him, our left/right back. Number 43 signed home shirt as an Insta win, as well as loads of other spot prizes. The link's in the description and I'll pin it in the comments as well. Okay, let's jump into this. So, that 52 page document was really long, semi-boring, but semi-interesting as well. And I would assume that a lot of you guys couldn't be asked to read the whole thing. So, unfortunately for me, I did. And I just want to pick out the defense of Forest and the mitigation they went after. There was 6 key points that Forest went for. Now, I'll list them all in the description, so if you want to go down and read them one by one in there, you can. But I want to pick out a couple of the ones that were either contentious, or Forest won on, or Forest lost on, or Forest thought they should have won on. So, the first one was that Forest was saying they were in a unique position. They were the only club in the Premier League that had no parachute payments, therefore put them in this unique position. Problem with this was like batted out the park by the Premier League, saying, well, okay, maybe out of the 20 you were in a unique position, but historically it's not something that Forest are the first to. I think there had been, and I think they stated there had been 13 teams in the last 10 years who hadn't had parachute payments. You look at, for example, even in the current Premier League, some of the teams are in there that hadn't had parachute payments before, like Brentford, Brighton when they came up a few years ago. So that one was just batted out the park completely by the Premier League. Another one to go through, the second one, secondly, it breached the PSR threshold because of sale of player A. I wonder if Jono's going to be called Player A down at Spurs from now on. We spoke about this on Grumpy Old Reds, so I won't touch on it too much. But I kind of think Forest were at a stretch with that one. Being that they sold him 2.5 months later. Being that the Brentford offer was actually after the cutoff, even though we were led to believe it was before the cutoff. And that Atletico Madrid offered 43 million for him, and Forest wanted 65 million euros in return. So anyway, we've spoken about that one. That one was batted out as well. The third reason for the excess, namely that most of the excess was incurred due to the price of promotion to the Premier League. Now, I thought this was quite interesting, because it is true. There were plenty of costs that Forest got by getting promotion. If you remember, Forest had to redo the whole dugout at the City ground. There's loads of stuff going on with the pitch. I think they redid the under soil heating. A lot of those costs got incurred because we got promoted. So Forest were writing this down as surely these should be written out of FFP. And I do tend to agree with that one, because Luton's cost, let's see if they're forced to put theirs in on their FFP, because they had to redo their whole stadium, their dugouts, their bike sheds and all that. So I thought this was a valid one. And I think Forest claimed that the cost of this was around 20 million. But this, again, was rejected by the Premier League as a mitigating circumstance. And I think that should have been accepted. I thought that was a decent point brought up by Nick DeMarco. Then they had the one about the COVID add back. and that Forest miscalculated how much they should have got from ad backs from COVID. Forest put down for 12 million. It ended up that it was only 2.5 million. However, this was never raised as a point by the EFL when this was done. So it was only came to light when the EPL, as in the Premier League, looked at it. Another of the points that Forest brought up was that we gained no sporting advantage. And this is where they used Everton and basically slated Everton, saying that Everton gained a sporting advantage because they would have got relegated had they not done it last season. And I've seen the Evertonians get upset about this. And I don't know why they've got upset about this. Because Forest should be using Everton's case to save Forest skin. And Everton should use Forest's case to save Everton's own skin on their second charge. I see no problem with it at all. I've seen some Everton's fans say, well, we were with Forest and now we got to go against them kind of thing. You're thinking about it wrong. Forest getting 4 points now, for example, gives you a good case to use Forest as precedent as to why you should get no more than 4 points on your second case and vice versa. So I don't mind that Forest have used them, and I don't mind if Everton go and use Forest as, oh God, look at the big bad wolf here kind of thing. So they were saying we didn't gain a sporting advantage. Now, I don't think we gained a sporting advantage. Our sporting advantage, but in a way we did. Because Brennan Johnson did play again in the first 3 games, I think it was, in the Premier League this season. Therefore, if we were waiting to sell him before that, why did we play him at Arsenal? And I can't remember who we played at the start. Was it Sheffield United and Burnley and Man United? Something like that. So that one I felt was a weak argument. That got dismissed as well. But the ones that got accepted were the Forest complied straight away and Forest admitted their guilt. And those are the 2 reasons that got us a point each, if you like, for Forest going from 6 to 4. But you got to ask yourself, if I'm being super critical about it, those were already points that were on the board for us without Nick DeMarco. So we already would have got that. If I had gone in and represented it, I'd have had all my reasons probably thrown out, although I do have a few good reasons up my sleeve. But those 2 points were just done by de facto and default. So did Nick DeMarco really manage to gain us anything extra back? And I think this might be some of the frustration that Marinakis is feeling today. Because they should have given us an extra point off as well, which is the argument from Forest. And well, the argument for Forest is get rid of all the points. And I kind of agree with them. So I don't know, but those were the 4 mitigating circumstances. So let me just kind of give you the official wording on what the Premier League said there. The Premier League disputes these 6 areas in the main and is set out below. However, it accepts 2 points of mitigation from Forest, admitting the complaint in the full in the first opportunity and cooperating extensively with the Premier League before and during the disciplinary process. The Premier League submitted that each of these matters constitutes substantial mitigation, which together would justify a material reduction in the sanction. That noted, the Commission will now consider the broad heads of mitigations, the parties' respective position on each head, and provide its determination. So basically, this was the opening. And then because there was still a dispute over the 6, then they had to go and debate it. So 2 were accepted, so they crossed them off. And then the other 6, those first points I read through to you, those were the ones that the panel then had to hear facts on. And if you want to read it, again, I'll put the link for the full document down there. But they do go point by point. And I got to say, the document is very, very detailed. And it is quite easy to read. It just gets a little boring. And there is some legal jargon in there. But Nick DeMarco could not argue convincingly enough that any of those other points that the Premier League had thrown out and hadn't accepted would be good enough to mitigate Forest. So, in conclusion, the case basically was already decided because we had got those two mitigations that the Premier League had accepted. Any of the other points that Nick DeMarco put across weren't taken forward. Now, I'm not saying he did a crap job. I'm saying I think he did a brilliant job, to be honest, because there's still the way that it's presented. It could have got harsher and harsher with the punishment, but he kept it together, and no doubt he did some other stuff that we're not privy to as well. He's also come out on social media and said that he couldn't speak on this and can't speak on it at all, and he just refers everyone to Forest's official statement, which, reading between the lines, says to me that he's probably the one who's wrote that statement, and I think that statement was really strong and really powerful, but we'll come on to that on another video. Anyway, get your thoughts in on all of that. Is there any of those mitigating circumstances that you think was strong enough that the Premier League should have accepted? Let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't got your Taiwo signed framed Forest shirt tickets, then go get them now before you're too late. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And go check out Grumpy Old Reds from last night, where, as always, it got heated. I'll leave the link for you on the end screen. Come on, you Reds.